This is a video that I've been wanting to make for quite some time. I'm an arts presenter. Most of what I deal with professionally has to do with the arts for one reason or another, in one way or another. And that's for one reason, really. And that's because the arts have always been there for me. I've always been fascinated with them, but also they've helped me understand myself and the world around me. And so naturally, I have more of a personal need to sort of document what's happening in the world of the arts. The arts have been a reference point for me, very important, and they've also gotten me out of trouble. They've also gotten me through very difficult psychological times. And also, quite early in my life, I'd say in my late teens, I came across something that Francois Truffaut said. Francois Truffaut is one of my heroes. He was a great filmmaker, one of my favorite ones at that. He was also a great thinker, started out as a film critic and became one of the most, if not the most important figure of the French New Wave of the 60s and 70s. His influence on cinema remains to this day. But as a young man, he became a passionate autodidact for one reason. He was an unwanted child, and for most of his life he was really neglected. And so he had to find other ways to stay out of trouble, something that he kind of successfully did. Well, considering that he became quite successful in his later life, perhaps he really did do, but also because he needed to find other ways in which to grow and to develop, to understand the world around him and so on. And so he followed an unofficial set of rules that people have observed and I've read in biographies of his. And like I said, I came across in my late teens and has inspired me since then to maintain a balance for myself, especially in the times of need. And right now we need something like that. So basically what he would do as a young man is he would follow a strict diet of watching 3 films a day, reading 3 books a week, and listening to music all of the time, as much as he could, of all kinds, wherever he could as well. It was a different time then. Movies were not as readily accessible, and so it was far more adventurous to venture out and consume all of this artistic content to develop. I've added another rule to that, but this is what I want to suggest with you. Like I said, these are difficult times and we need to find interests to hang on to, especially during the Christmas time, which I've always found to be very psychologically daunting for several reasons. Many of us may also be alone at this time. So that's why I especially want to recommend this for you. This is what I've been doing. Throughout my life, I've definitely suffered from mental issues, never diagnosed, but I know in my heart that that's true. But the arts have always kind of gotten me through it, if not for one reason or another, because they've been a reference point for me. They have inspired me to even just get up in the morning to discover more of it. So I've sort of adapted them to the modern lifestyle that we live nowadays, and so that it doesn't get in my way too invasively and doesn't get in my way of my own self-development, because I need to digest art in a different way. But this is what I do. I watch 1 film a day. I read 1.5 books a week, depending on the length of the book, I gotta be honest. And I listen to 3 albums a week. And I've added a 4th rule. Every week, I try to experience art live, physically, which means that I either go to an exhibition, I either go to a live concert, a live gig, or I go to a public reading. You understand what I'm saying? This type of experience, that you can have at a physical place, at a physical venue. The act of actually experiencing art physically is different from experiencing it at home. Both are very valuable, but it is a different experience for several reasons. I won't get into it here, but that is my 4th rule. These are my guidelines. They've helped me through the hardships that I've experienced in my life. I've led quite a privileged somewhat life. The decisions that I've made are my own, including the one to lead a nomadic lifestyle whereby I just experience art, document and work with art, which is very daunting and very psychologically daunting too. It does come with its perks, but it's also very difficult. I wouldn't recommend it unless you're very passionate about the arts. But what I'm saying is that if you're in any other line of work and you find that a lot of your life is just empty and leads you to just spend too much time in your own head, which is always a dangerous thing to do, I think, you definitely can adapt a set of rules that revolves around an exploration of the arts. So, like I said, mine, I find it works for me, is watching 1 film a day, reading 1.5 books a week, and listening to 3 albums a week. But by listening to 3 albums a week, listen from start to finish and just take the time to listen to it fully, from start to finish a couple of times until I'm familiarized with that. That doesn't mean that I don't then go and listen to other music to the side. That music is always going to be there. I go out and go for a walk, depending on my mood, I listen to whatever I want. But when I explore new music, that's what I do. I just picked that out as an example because I can see why people would be confused about that. And then the fourth rule, of course, is to have physical artistic experiences, which could be visiting an art exhibition, visiting a concert venue and experiencing music live, and go to a film screening, why not? And go to a public reading, stuff like that, Obviously right now it's very difficult, lockdown and so on, which is why right now the best thing that you can do is probably just visit all the multimedia content that different art institutions, organizations, and even music venues and different venues are putting out there on the internet. It's not the same thing, but definitely can be a sort of way to adapt this fourth rule to the times that we're living in. And like I said, this is not going to work for everybody. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge, but it's nice to have that challenge, because once you have achieved your goal of watching a film a day, of however many you want to watch a week, you can adapt those numbers to the lifestyle that you lead. You know best. You maybe have different engagements that prevent you from experiencing the amount of art that I do. Don't forget that I also work within the arts, so it makes sense for me to consume maybe more art than the common person would. But once you have achieved that, the set quota, you actually feel like you've achieved something. It feels good. I mean, if you've ever read a monolithic book like War and Peace, once you get through it, it's not just a matter of having gotten through it and it's great. It actually makes you feel like you've accomplished something. So to set goals for yourself, for your artistic exploration, actually makes you feel good in ways that are beyond the obvious ones, which is, you develop as a human being, as a person, and you feel better because the artwork represents you somehow, and so on. There are different ways in which an artwork can reward you, but if you come up with a set of rules that you meet within this artistic exploration, you will find that you will feel like you have actually achieved something. And I find that also empowers me in surprising ways in the life that I lead. So it makes me feel better, generally better. It's better than even many of the alcoholic beverages that I try my best to avoid at all times, because I also have an addictive personality. So hey, my artistic explorations also help me with that. But this was just a short video. If you'd like to know more about this, which I felt like, would be kind of a nice video to make, just as a suggestion, I'm not someone who, would want to kind of set an example for anybody else, but I find that this sort of works for me. And maybe if you adapt your own set of rules, you come up with your own set of rules for watching a certain amount of films a week, and listening to a certain amount of albums, reading a certain amount of books, and going to a certain amount of exhibitions or concerts or so on, physical experience, you understand what I mean? Which could also be just going for a walk and taking a look at the architecture in your town, There's so many different ways in which you can experience art. It's even hard to kind of just condense in a short video. But I find that works for me, so I thought it would be a nice video to put out there during this difficult time, and especially at this particularly difficult time of the year, which I always find psychologically daunting myself. So hey, maybe it'll help someone out there somewhere. Till the next time, if you'd like to ask me more questions about it, get in touch. I'll try to help you out. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay strong, and I wish you well in your artistic ventures, my friends.